Welcome to Ballintubber Abbey here in County Mayo, and this is one of the oldest abbeys in Ireland. It was built in, I think, the year 1216. Would that be reasonably accurate, Charlie? And that was the High King, was it, a Connacht?
It was the High King of Connacht, Cathal Mór, the Wine Red Hand. He built it for the Augustinian order, and progressed as an abbey. It was small at first. Even as what you see today, it was a lot bigger than this. It was a huge spread in it.
Yeah, well, when this was reconstructed, a large part of what was originally here was just left more or less.
Yeah, well, I remember coming here as a young lad now, and the roof was off. That was before 1966, the 750th anniversary of the foundation of they did a massive job and scrape. But I do remember it roofless, and I remember services going on here. They used to have, there'd be open air masses, I'm sure, but within the confines of the...
I say, 1260, 1270, there was a burning here, but it wasn't as bad as the other burning that happened in the Cromwellian forces in 1652.
That was,
They really attempted to dismantle the building completely. They managed to burn the roof completely, but the walls are solid, thick walls, and they retained. And also, just where we are standing here at the moment, which is called the Chancery, these were built with stone circular roofs. And there's a fine example just there next door of very, very intricate stonework, which is very difficult to do. These were master craftsmen that built that so far back, and that no fire was able to damage that. So it meant that there was mass here continued for over 800 years, Charlie.
That's right.
That's extraordinary, really. Now, they were very destructive here, Cromwell's forces all over the country, because that era was, to hell or to Connacht, and even you weren't safe in Connacht, because they had decided at that stage to more or less obliterate the Irish, or either get them subdued, that we were going to become part of there was going to be no tolerance towards even the Irish language or anything like that. And later down, the penal laws, which came somewhat later, 1680, 90, some of them came in at different times. But that was terrible altogether, because a Catholic couldn't own land of any consequence, a horse worth a fiver. The schools were closed, Irish was banned as a language. The priests, they were supposed to make, it was an oath to the Queen.
Allegiance to the Queen.
Yes, and anybody that didn't do that was subject to be hung.
But before we leave this sacred place, we'll talk a little bit more about Ballintubber and the Abbey, because according to John O'Donovan, he maintained that there was a castle here. It was it was confined, that there was a castle in it, there was a courthouse in it, in fact there was a jail in it.
And some people were hung here, I believe.
So it was a place of execution. And of course, Richard O'Nearn, Grania Wales' second husband, was murdered in this area.
Ooh.
And his son, Tibbet Lalong, lies in a crypt.
That's right, just over here.
So there's a lot of history in it. Yeah. It had markets. It was quite extensive. It was a religious centre, but at the same time it was
commercial as well too. To some degree, fairs and all of that kind of thing. And public business was conducted, courts. And it's quite central here to, of course, Castlebar, Westport didn't exist in the same ways that they are nowadays or anything like that, or any of these outlying towns are much later down. It's great that the building itself was able to be retained as much as it did. And if you take a look at some of the walls, you can understand why they're pretty well imperishable. They're up to about 4 foot thick or 1.2 metres wide, solid stone. So, nothing short of a bomb would be capable of taking it down. Marvellous job done on what was the reconstruction there. There's fine roof structures put back in place here that will maintain this building long, long into the future.
You recited part of a poem one night, one evening. I have part of it here, and it goes like, Shake hands, brother. You're a rogue and I'm another. You'll be hanged in Ballinrobe and I'll be hanged in Ballintubber. You'll be hanged with rope and I'll be hanged with rubber, right?
Mm-hmm.
The rubber will break and I will be safe, but you will be hanged forever.
Gee, yeah.
That's
I had heard a piece of that before, and I just quoted it to you. You're a great man to get that now.
There's a lot more of it in it.
Yeah. No, we're in the grounds of Ballintubber Abbey here, and this is the start of what is known as the Tóchar Phádraig, and that was an ancient pilgrimage route that started here in Ballintubber, and it went all the way to Phádraig, through villages like Tóchar and that. But that was actually, Charlie, as far as I know, it was called an ancient chariot route.
Well, that's what they called it, but it was
a pathway, really.
It was the Pilgrim's Way. Like, supposedly now, it started at Crook in Roscommon, near Tulsk there, and came the whole way through the county into Mayo, and Ball came right here to Ballintubber. Then they went on through by the mill over to Ballyburk, towards into Argour. Of course, that was a centre.
Another centre of
heritage. And then our religion. And then you went on to along by Lank Hill and over into the Bohe, where the Bohe Stone.
Bohe Stone, yeah, correct, yeah.
Over across the Onry River and right up by Crotts Mountain now.
Right.
There, that's almost, you know, where Skelp is when you come
Yeah.
from Prospect, that side.
That's
You
interesting.
go up there to the side of the mountain and right up onto Phádraig. And that was supposed to be the route.
Well, the estimated route, according to the literature, is 22 miles from here.
Oh, from here, I believe it is.
So if you were to go from Include into Roscommon, that was a massive walk. You'd need to have stops in between there. Perhaps they would stop occasionally along the way for refreshments or something. Now, this area here seems to have been a kind of a bathing area, was it?
That's right, yeah.
To kind of refresh
the pilgrims to bathe their feet after their long,
Yeah.
after them coming. The pilgrims coming from Phádraig would have it there. And the way they heated the stone, you know,
Right.
the way they heated the water, they heated the stone in a fire and
put it into the
tossed
water.
it into the water. That heated the water.
Good idea.
I'm sure they put salt in as well, or some other type of.
Yeah.
chemical,
So that would have been running from what periods roughly, Charlie?
Again,
You see, originally they say that it was an old pagan
it was
path.
a pagan route originally because.
So that would be going back to the
that
4th
would
century,
go
kind
back
of,
way back.
and possibly 1,000, 1,500 years back.
Exactly, yeah.
Because a lot of these paths that were became Christian pilgrimages were originally pagan.
They were, yeah.
So it's an interesting feature. And there's quite a hillock. Now, I know that at certain times, if it's clear, you can get a fairly good visual of Phádraig from just further up there, right over, which is a nice photo snap. You haven't done this route, Charlie, but you're hoping to do it.
No, I'm hoping to do it. I've done it in parts,
Right,
you know, but
not in total.
I haven't done
Well,
it on the total run. No.
There is, if you go to the Ballintubber website, Ballintubber Abbey website, this is the official starting point here anyway.
It's It's a grand job. I had to steer away.
Lovely indeed. The poem, the title of the poem is I Miss Mother, and again it's by Mary T. Goodman, and this is it. I miss mother in spring, when at first sign of warmth the tender shoots explored. She opened windows wide, fragrant curtains billowing, everything upended, steeped in lemon oil. I miss mother in summer, It honed a keen edge to my despair to watch her running in the sand, a bright bandana in her hair. A child among children also afraid of the dark. I miss mother in winter when children came laden with bags and boxes screeching in delight. Every part of the house proclaiming holiday. In the whirlpool she bustled about, cooked, baked, and laughed out loud. Not yet out the gate. She questioned wistfully, when you come again, you won't be late. Just simple one about, about I miss mother.
Well done. Have you one, Lee?
In youth we dwell but for a day, or so it seems to me. For years roll on like a summer's dawn, and leave for all to see. We pass each day in a busy way, lost in a greedy world. A gentle thought comes to my mind of people long since gone. That thought brings peace into my mind for the peace that brought to them where life was spent in a happy way, one side of Durcan's pool, where good men met and tried their best to bring a salmon home, and sometimes frowned when fortunes found what luck they had unfold. That's it.